She's a multiple Grammy Award winner, Emmy-nominated singer-songwriter. Her soulful, hauntingly beautiful voice is so incredibly versatile. Her style is sometimes hard to define, but think folk meets blues meets Latin acoustic, and then mix in some pop, and then you have Guatemalan American singer Gaby Moreno. But she's also so much more, an advocate for children and literacy causes and a UNICEF Goodwill ambassador. Welcome, Gaby Moreno, to the Rotary Voices podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I have so many questions because your music, as I said, is just unbelievable. Your voice is amazing.
Thank you.
But I want to start with your connection to Rotary because your father was involved with Rotary. But tell me a little bit about his background and how he got involved with it.
Well, it's interesting because he was a concert promoter for a very, very long time. And he started in the 80s, throughout the 90s. He joined Rotary. And I remember he joined it with my uncle. And I remember there was this one project where they did a fundraiser and they gathered a bunch of wheelchairs to bring to just people in need of wheelchairs. And I think that's still going to this day. Like every year they do this. Another one that I can remember is that also to this day, they're helping communities along the the Fuego volcano, which is constantly erupting. And so these communities living so close to the volcano are at risk. So I know that they're always there. They're always helping. They're always like figuring out whether they can help move them or whatever it is. But yeah, he's always been very much involved with different projects, different things. And it was always very inspiring to see that, growing up and seeing how my dad would always go to meetings and go to the projects that they were doing. It's a couple of times they brought me along and I really love that. And so it kind of started something in me that from a very, very early age that I wanted to help others and I wanted to be a part of that change.
Yeah, so you are somebody who really wants to give back, and that's something that I can tell is deep in your soul. You're such a soulful singer that I think you're somebody who really, when you get into something, you put your heart and soul into it.
Yes.
You had an amazing firsthand experience with Rotary's impact in Guatemala, your home country. Tell everybody about the Rotary Literacy Project that you were a part of.
So I was invited to go to Guatemala last year to accompany members of the Guatemala Literacy Project. It was a collaboration they were doing along with COED, Cooperative for Education in Guatemala, and it was really wonderful. Like I got to see firsthand the work that they were doing in these communities, and I got to visit a family and meet a little girl who had greatly benefited from this project. She was already reading and writing, and that's something that's very important to me because I know that these children have big dreams and they can make them a reality once they have like the proper tools and the education.
So explain to our listeners why this is critical, because I understand for a lot of the children, they only go to a certain grade.
Yes.
So if you can kind of walk us through what's going on there and why the Rotary work is so important.
Well, I guess a lot of people know this. There's a lot of poverty in Guatemala, and there's basically a lot of children that do not make it past 6th grade. They end up just going back to their families and working. At 12, 13 years old, they're already working.
Because they have to make money
Because
they have
to. They have to help the family. They have to help provide. It's so sad. It's heartbreaking. And a lot of them come from rural parts of the country, mainly from indigenous communities. And a lot of them have to come into the city and find work there. The family that I got to meet, I got to speak to 3 of they were teenagers already. And I asked them like what big dreams they had, and I remember one of them telling me like, "Oh, I want to be a mechanic." Like I just like all he could think about was just going into the city and working as a mechanic. And I was thinking like, okay, great if that's his big dream, right? But he needs to finish his education, and that's just something that I'm really hoping that one day we'll be able to say every single child in Guatemala has had an education.
I saw a beautiful video of you singing with some Guatemalan children.
That was really special.
Kind of paint a picture for our listeners of that day. What that was like for you, and the children all knew the song.
Oh my goodness. It tugged at my heartstrings. I arrived and first they did this wonderful welcome they had flags of the United States and of Guatemala and the UK I think was there too. And we all gathered in this gym that they had at that school, and they had a guitar for me. And I sat down and I started playing the song, and they all started singing along with me, like very enthusiastically, very loudly. It was so beautiful. This song of mine is called Fronteras, and it's really touching to me that it kind of has become a bit of a hymn to a lot of kids, especially and especially during our Independence Month in September. Our Independence Day is September 15th, and I've been getting videos from schools, just from kids singing this song and making it their own, and it's very, very sweet.
So tell me about the word of Fronteras and why that has become kind of a symbol for them.
Well, it's funny because I wrote that song many, many years ago about my journey of how I left my home country and arrived in a new place, just following my dreams and just full of hope and my big illusion of being in music. And, that's kind of what I was thinking about. But this is usually what happens with songs. The artists write, whatever they're feeling, but then once it's out in the world, people take these songs and they make it their own, and that's a really beautiful thing. I love that. That's why sometimes I don't really like to tell people like what I was thinking when I wrote it. I kind of want you to come up with your own meaning and put your own story into it. And so that happened with that song. All of a sudden, I started hearing that kids are singing it because it is a song that speaks about hope and about a new beginning, a new dawn, and about, moving forward and following your dreams. And so I think these are all themes that a lot of people can identify with, and well, especially the youth.
So you've had an incredible year, right?
Yes.
You just released your new album, Dusk, which
Yes.
is unbelievable if you haven't
Thank
heard
you.
it. I love the different variety of music that you offer on there. I said at the beginning that it's kind of hard to define you as a singer. I think I've seen folk a lot, but you sing a lot of different things.
hard for me.
Tell me about that. If you were to tell somebody how to describe your music, what would you say?
I would tell them. Well, now I think I have arrived at the fact that I am an Americana artist. And maybe this is a term that not a lot of people are familiar with, but Americana is a genre of music. And it encompasses like many different musical styles that were either born here in the United States or have become like a staple of the music that's being made here. So, whether that's blues, folk, rock, I think there's also a lot of Latin in there, Latin rhythms. And so I think it's that. And then, of course, I sing in English and Spanish. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm a Latin Americana artist.
I like that. Latin Americana.
Yeah.
So back to the fact that you've had an amazing year because you released this album, but you also won a Grammy.
Yes.
Okay, what was that like? Was that a dream of yours?
Oh my gosh. I have a little notebook from when I was, 12 years old, and where I was writing all my dreams and everything. And I wrote there to win a Grammy someday. It was so surreal to me. I mean, that moment, I felt like I was floating in the clouds. It was, I still can't believe it. Somebody just asked me. I just played a festival, and I was hanging out in the green room with other artists, and somebody asked me about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, really? Did that happen? Like, I
And
still
you've
can't
won
believe it.
Latin Grammy, but now you've won
Yes.
this U.S. Grammy.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're Emmy nominated.
Right.
So what else have you got going? What are your plans for the rest of the year?
Well, I mean, aside from touring to support this new album that I just released, I really love producing, and last year I also had the big honor of winning a Latin Grammy for producing a legendary artist from Cuba, Omar Aportundo, and that meant the world to me. And I really do love producing other artists, so I want to keep doing that. I want to help other artists, and also just slow down a little bit, because the road can be exhausting, and I've been doing it for about 15 years. So I know that there's other things that I can do where I can probably just stay home and like
And still be
relax a little
creative.
bit
Is that what you like about producing?
about what?
Is that what you like about producing? You can still be creative, but you don't have to be on the road all the time.
Exactly. You don't have to be on the road. You just stay home, and then you get to work with the artists, with the musicians, and you get to be in the studio. I really love that. And be creative in a different way. So I love that. I also love writing for TV and film, which I think I'm going to be doing a little bit more of that
Well,
too.
that's exciting because
Yeah.
you play a character and sing a song for a Disney show, right? Tell us
I did,
about that.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I sang the theme song for Elena of Avalor, which was the first Latina princess, and the producers of the show gave me a character. Named Marlena. So I got to, it was my first time ever doing a voiceover for a Disney show. So that was really fun. But I've also had songs that I've written for movies. I did one for the animated film Puss in Boots: The Last Wish that came out last year.
That was a big deal.
That was a huge deal, especially because I thought I was just going to write it and give it to someone to sing, someone that was, well, Antonio Banderas, who was the voice of the cat. And then they told me, no, we want your voice. So it was a big deal to hear my voice in such a big film.
That's great. Who were your influences growing up in Guatemala? Did you listen to a lot of American music as well?
Yeah.
Who really touched you?
Well, this is where I wanted to tell you about that story about Chicago and why it means so much to me. So at first, when I was really, really young, I started singing. I mean, my mom tells me that I started singing when I was 5, 6 years old. And I was really into musicals, and I was really into Disney movies, the music that I would hear there. But then my parents took me to New York when I was 13 years old, and I discovered blues for the very first time. I had never heard anything like that in my life. I heard it because a woman was singing it. She was singing in the streets, and I just absolutely fell in love with the way that she was singing that kind of music. And so I went up to her and I asked her, what's that music that you're singing? And she said, oh, that's the blues, honey. And I asked my mother to take me to a record store. And of course, I didn't know which artists, were in the blues genre. So I just bought a bunch of CDs, compilation CDs. I brought them back home with me. I put on the first CD, and the first song that plays is Coco Taylor's Wang Dang Doodle. Now, as you know, Coco Taylor is from Chicago. So for me, that was my introduction to that music. And Chicago blues was a huge, huge inspiration to me. And that's how I really got into it.
What was it about the blues? What do you think? Is it just because where it comes from? Because the blues is, I mean, you have to use every part of your body and feel it, don't you?
Absolutely. I don't know. I don't know if I in some other life I was a blues singer. I don't know, but it's just like every time I hear it, it's just like something. It stirs something in me, and it gives me chills, and I can't. It's so hard to describe, and I really immerse myself in that music so much that now it's just I don't consider myself a blues singer, of course, but I'm very much inspired by it. And I think it informs a lot, not just my lyrics, but also just my melodies and my interpretation and the feeling that I put into the music.
I love that you had that Chicago connection in New York.
Yes. Yeah,
So
big.
And tell me about the first time you came to Chicago to perform. Was that special?
Oh, so special. I'm trying to remember okay, I think the first time was when I had my first tour experience, and that was in 2009, opening for Tracy Chapman. And it was absolutely amazing. I was out on the road for 3 weeks with her, just by myself with my guitar, opening her shows, and we played here in Chicago. And that was my first time playing here. Wow. But then after that, I've been here many times. I've played in different festivals. I even played in Millennium Park. That was incredibly special too. So yeah, no, I always love coming back here.
So in your career, because you're still a very young woman and you've done a lot, what is it that really stands out for you? Or was there something that was kind of a game changer for you?
Oof, well, many moments, I guess. That tour with Tracy Chapman for me was a game changer, because that was my very first experience being on the road, and that's when I realized, ooh, I really love this. Like, I really want to keep doing this. Obviously, getting such a big recognition as the Grammys was just monumental. Different collaborations I've done with some artists over the years have been very meaningful to me, to my career. One of them with my fellow countryman, Ricardo Arjona. I sang a duet with him in 2011, and that song became a huge hit for him. It's a song that he wrote, and he invited me to sing it with him. And that kind of got my name really well known in Latin America.
What was the name of the song?
Fuiste tú. And it was a very special collaboration that I did with him. And it's been a
good career, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So who haven't you had the
downs.
chance to sing with that you like? Who's the one person that you would really love to be able to do duet with?
Mavis Staples.
Wow.
I love Mavis so much, and I love the Staples singers. Caetano Veloso, another wonderful artist from Brazil, and goodness, Stevie Wonder. Can I keep dreaming big?
No, it seems to me like dreaming big has paid off. So if I were you, I wouldn't stop dreaming big, because you've already made these amazing accomplishments, and they're all within your reach. I just love the fact, though, that despite you're really busy, and I've watched you as you've been touring the Rotary Building. You really give the attention and the consideration to other people. Was it your family's impact that taught you that no matter your success, that you always have to give back?
Yeah, definitely my family. And I think also my school. I went to an all-girl Catholic school. And I was there in Guatemala. You're basically in the same school all the time, from kindergarten, elementary, high school. It's all in the same school. So I was in the same school for 14 years with the same students, the same friends, and this school, it's called Monte Maria, which means Maryknoll, which was started by the Sisters of Maryknoll from New York, and anyways, not it's nothing to do with religion for me anymore, at least, because I don't really practice any religion anymore. But I do remember how much they instilled in us the giving back to our communities. And I think that's where it started for me, because part of projects and assignments that we had in our class was to go to an orphanage, go to an old people's home and spend time with them and give back. And, we did that. And so I feel like that really sparked something in me. And then, of course, seeing the work that my dad was doing with Rotary, I mean, I always thought, man, I want to do that. I want to give back. I want to help out
Well, when he found out that you were one of Rotary's first ambassadors, or first of all, were you excited to tell him, and what was his reaction?
I was very excited to tell him. And I called him, and he got pretty emotional about it. I know it means so much to him and to the family. So yeah, I'm incredibly excited, and I can't wait to share with him like all the other things that I'm going to be doing with Rotary.
And maybe you guys can do something together.
That would be great. That would be amazing.
So tell me about what are your plans to do with that, since you're going to serve as an ambassador? I'm sure you have set
Yeah.
some goals for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, it's just such a huge, huge honor. I feel that through whatever I can do, whether it's through my music, through my social platforms, I want to just keep bringing awareness of what Rotary is doing all over the world. And yeah, I feel like it's a big commitment, it's a big responsibility, and like I said, it's just a big privilege to be part of this adventure and this journey.
Well, you were definitely chosen for a reason, and keep doing what you do. We can't wait to see your next dream that you're going to achieve.
Thank you so much.
It's just been such a pleasure, and your music is just so special and beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
And we can't wait for you to come back.
Yeah.
And keep us posted on your next adventure and your next tour.
We'll do that.
And then your next trip. Who knows where it's going to take you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you again for being a part of Rotary Voices podcast.
Thank you so much.
Gabby.
Gracias.